Buying CRO at like $3 will be the opportunity of a lifetime. But is it likely, and in what scenario can we actually expect things like this to happen? Well guys, I would say let's strap in and let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, I got my suspenders back on so we can finally introduce our topic of today. But first, I'm the Coin Baron, and today we're going to talk about the $3 scenario for CRO. I'm currently still stacking US dollar just in case this would happen. Unfortunately, my personal opinion does not matter at all for the price direction. So what we'll do, we'll check out previous patterns and historic data of Bitcoin in past cycles to see if we can learn anything for the upcoming cycle and why the $3 scenario is possibly likely. Back to the charts. Over here, we do portray Bitcoin and CRO as an overlay with their relative strength. And my first conclusion really when seeing this is, well, there's quite some correlation. When Bitcoin goes up, well, CRO goes up. And when CRO goes down, well, Bitcoin is probably also going down. So overall, I think we can assume that Bitcoin and Cronos are correlated. The only question then remaining for me is, how big are the chances that Bitcoin still will go lower in this cycle? Unfortunately, no one really knows the answer to the last question. And if someone is telling you, well, he or she is lying, definitely. But well, we can look at the charts over here. And what I like to look at right now is this current phase. So we are leaving really the bear market station and we're going back up again to the better times ahead. But I actually think these times we're in right now are more volatile than they look. So let's actually zoom in on those a bit more on a different chart. The chart we're showing you right now is actually getting quite old, but is still very much relevant, mainly because it shows you all the important events in the Bitcoin cycle and also the price history on the logarithmic scale. So we are currently over here, halfway 2023, but the next halving will happen basically halfway 2024. We can actually take a look at the other pre-halving years on this chart because they've been quite eventful. And the funny thing to see actually is that basically all these years are over here, all really when the Bitcoin cycle was at its lowest point in time. However, how they behaved, that was still quite different. So what we see over here in the previous cycle is actually more like this U form. So it went down, it went up again. And the same could also be said really for the other cycle in 2011. So it went down, but from there on, it only went basically up. It was different though in the cycle of 2015, 2016, because back then, actually what happened is it went to a low, it went up again, but in the other half of the year, it went down again to another low. If we then put these historic patterns on the current cycle, well, we can actually get some trend projections. So let's actually first take a look at the first scenario, and that would be like 2011 and 2018. So actually we've got this U form over here. So we go up, up and up and up again until we hit the next all-time high in the next bull cycle. That would be scenario one. The other scenario actually would be more like the 2015 scenario. So that would be more that we maybe even go up again, up to like 35,000. But then we do go down again and revisit the previous all-time low of this cycle. So then we go going back basically to 16,000 again. And from there on going up again. If the first scenario will actually play out up until this halving, I do think that the $5 level will have marked the bottom for CRO in this cycle. But what if the second scenario will actually occur? Again, we assumed that Cronos and Bitcoin are correlated. So Cronos follows the behavior of Bitcoin. So we just mentioned in the previous segment that there is a possibility of Bitcoin having this double bottom pattern. And that will be almost give or take a 50% downturn, going down from 31 to 16K. And well, let's do the exact same thing for Cronos. So from over here, we'll draw the ruler and go down 50%. And that will bring us 0.29 cents. So let's round it off, let's say 3 cents. We haven't seen the $3 level in a long time for Cronos, but funnily, near the launch of the coin, it actually was a very important level as it actually showed you a local top near the launch, but also a local bottom when it went down in 2020. So time for a quick recap. Yes, I do think that going back to 3 cents is a possibility, but what are the probabilities? To answer that, we have to go back to this chart again. And I do have to mention right now as well that no cycle perfectly repeats, but often it does rhyme. So what we do see over here, this U pattern, this U scenario where it goes up again, it happened twice. It happened over here in this green cycle and this purple cycle. The other scenario, when it went back down again to its local low, that happened only once. So if I have to give probabilities, I think there's only a 1/3 chance we go back, revisit the 16K level. Time for a conclusion. If our first assumption actually holds true, I do think there is a likely scenario that CRO is going to $3. But what do you do with this information? How do you plan for that kind of scenario? Well, first and foremost, do take into consideration there's also a high likelihood we'll never ever go back. And these are actually the lowest prices you can buy CRO at right now. Especially also because there are other macro factors into play, like a spot ETF being approved for Bitcoin, for example. My personal plan, and I'm definitely not a financial advisor, is though to heavily DCA in this time in the cycle because we are currently undervalued. Anyway, what I do use is this allocation ratio. So right now, I do think the wise percentage would be 50% for CRO because it's definitely undervalued, 25% for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is always important to have in your portfolio, and also 25% into US dollars. And that 25% can be used later on for those big fire sales. But of course, it can also just not happen. And in that case, you have a healthy cash position as well. Anyways, I do understand that going 50% into CRO is rather risky. So would like to know your allocation as well. So please let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this bearish take as well, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But that's me, I'm the Coin Baron, and I will see you in the next video. Till then.